June 15th, 2014. Guys, we're looking at some very valuable information for the advance guard of God's Christian warriors that are planning to stand and fight. This is for the watchmen on the wall. This is for the Christians that want to know the enemy's plans. Now, this is not a pleasant study, but it is very important. Now, again, if you're about to go into the greatest battle you've ever seen or heard of for your soul, would you want to know the enemy's plans? If someone were able to recon that information back to you before the battle, or would you think, ooh, it's too scary, I'll just lay down in the ditch and let it happen, or I'll fly away? Well, that's your decision. But I'm going to go through this video. I'm a Christian first. One of my jobs is to expose lies within some of this so-called churches that we're seeing, of this flyaway doctrine. The other one is to dig up as much information as I can and tie it in with the Bible. And this goes hand in hand with Revelation. It also goes hand in hand with some of the things that Michael and I have been talking about on some of these radio shows, guys. Very important. It's got to do with the locust army. What comes out of the pit? What is going to be the new world religion? Are you listening? This is going to be key. If you read this and you understand it, you will recognize what Satan is about to do. On the right, you have, with the buzzard, the vulture head, with the circle on this, with the globe on top of his head there. You see Thoth. He's inscribing on a tablet. He's standing before a throne, before another deity. Guys, this is pre-Egypt as we know it. I've said many times that the pyramids are older than modern Egypt, or the Egypt that we know. The Egyptians did not build the pyramids. They're much older. Now we're going to go through some of the translations of the first chapter of these emerald tablets. But the history on them, again, they were found in 1930s. They've been translated by several people. They were talked about in ancient manuscripts from Hermes to Galileo, but no one had ever found them. But again, if it's something important, God's going to let his people know in advance. That's why, if you studied Elijah, when the enemy found out that the Israel kings knew their battle plans, and what was happening was God was sending the plans to Elijah, and he would tell the king, and they would ambush the enemy, be gone. The enemy was confounded until their enemy's wise men told them that Elijah was telling the kings every move, because God was giving them the information in advance. Well, the same thing here. There's information for the end time warriors that's being brought out in the end times. And again, the inscription on the right is pre-Egypt, and the emerald tablets go pre-Egypt and talk about this event. They talk about the modern times and the rise of Satan here. We're dealing with Satan. On the right, with the vulture head, Thoth. This is one of the beasts. Tablets goes into the 8th beast in the end times, and the battle plan, and especially the new religion that Rome will bring forth. It ties in exactly with the demonic ceremonies and satanic ceremonies that we saw that the Pope do with the blood and flesh of the 2 popes this year in front of the Egyptian obelisk, just like the one we have in Washington, D.C., except the one in Rome was actually shipped from Egypt, from this place, pre-Egypt as we know it. It also ties directly in, and there's almost identical information with the book of Enoch. Now, what is different? In the book of Enoch, we saw the perspective from Enoch and the punishment of the fallen angels. Now, what has happened with the emerald tablets is that there was also a diary made by the fallen ones and writings by their leader. And it goes into detail. It tells about the possessions that I talked about yesterday on the show when we see this new one world religion come forth. And we've talked about in Revelation the evil spirits that come forth and possess the leaders and the kings. It goes on generation to generation, and now we're in the end times. Now this tablet supposedly is made, and the way it's composed, it's indestructible. And there's several of them. It's not just this one, but this is just an example of one. And I want to go into some of the readings. Again, this is God's recon, so pay attention. Now, this is the first chapter, and I want to say something before I start reading this, that we've talked about the locust army moving. And yesterday, we talked about another thing, that it would be a possession. This locust army, as that key is unlocked, and these evil spirits come forth, they will possess the world leaders, both military, political, and religious. You understand what I'm saying? This tells about that. I'm going to read it. Remember, we're dealing with the diary or the writings of the beast. I, Thoth, the Atlantean master of mysteries, pre-Egypt, keeper of records, mighty king, magician, living from generation to generation, being about to pass into the halls of Amenti, set down for the guidance of those that are to come after, these records of the mighty wisdom of great Atlantis. That's why God destroyed Atlantis. The halls of Amenti, also what we call the bottomless pit. In the great city of Kior, on the island of Undul, in a time far past, I began this incarnation, not as the little men of the present age did, the mighty ones of Atlantis live and die, but rather from aeon to aeon did they renew their life in the halls of Amenti, where the river of life flows eternally onward. They renew their life in the bottomless pit. This is underground. 100 times 10, that's 1,000, have I descended the dark way that led into the light. And as many times have I ascended from the darkness into the light, my strength and power renewed. We're about to see another coming back up. Now for a time I descend, and the men of Kim, that's Kim is ancient Egypt, shall know me no more. But in a time yet unborn will I rise again, mighty and potent, requiring an accounting of those left behind me, his evil priest. Then beware, O men of Kim, again ancient Egypt, if you have falsely betrayed my teachings, for I shall cast ye down from your high estate into the darkness of the caves from whence you came. Now wait a minute. The priest came from the dark caves. The possession. Betray not my secrets to the men of the north or the men of the south, lest my curse fall upon you. Well, Satan, we're not afraid of you. We have someone much more powerful with this entire army surrounding you and us. Remember and heed my words, for surely will I return again and require of thee that which ye guard. I, even from beyond time and from beyond death, will I return, rewarding or punishing as you have requited your truest. Great were my people in the ancient days, great beyond the conception of the little people now around me, knowing the wisdom of old, seeking far within the heart of infinity. Knowledge that belonged to earth's youth. We see the Pope now reaching out to the youth. Wise were we with the wisdom of the children of light who dwelt among us. Strong were we with the power drawn from the eternal fire. Now, guys, the reason I say this about the Pope and the youth, this is the end times. This new one world religion is disguised in these writings, but we're going to unveil it. You're going to see it. Again, it's going to seem like they're going to bring back the old teachings, like Michael said, with a twist. This is what they're about to do. Pay attention. All of these, greatest among the children of men was my father, thought me, keeper of the great temple leaked between the children of light who dwelt within the temple and the races of men who inhabited the 10 islands. Mouthpiece after the 3 of the dweller of Unal, speaking to the kings with the voice that must be obeyed. Remember that 3. Grew I there from a childhood into manhood. Now listen, ancient, pre-Egypt. Grew I there from a child into manhood, being taught by my father the elder mysteries, until in time they grew within the fire of wisdom, until it burst into a consuming fire. Naught desired I but the attainment of wisdom, until a great day the command came from the dweller of the temple that I be brought before him. You saw that in the inscription to the right, as he was brought before that temple. Few there were among the children of men who had looked upon that mighty face and lived. For not as the sons of men are the children of light, when they are not incarnate in a physical body. We're talking about possession. And when they're not in a physical body, they're in this place. Chosen was I from the sons of men, taught by the dweller, so that his purposes might be fulfilled, purposes yet unborn in the womb of time. Long ago I dwelt in the temple, learning ever and yet ever more wisdom, until I too approached the light emitted from the great fire. Taught me he the path to Amentai, the underworld where the great king sits upon his throne of might. Deep I bowed in homage before the lords of life and the lords of death, receiving as my gift the key of life. There's also a key to this bottomless pit. Guys, this is Enoch, not written from Enoch's perspective, from the fallen angel's perspective. Then having drunk deep of the cup of wisdom, guys, this is also mentioned in Genesis, called the tree of the knowledge. I looked into the hearts of men, and there found I greater mysteries, and I was glad. For only in the search for truth could my soul be stilled and the flame within be quenched. Down through the ages I lived, seeing those around me taste of the cup of death and return again in the light of life. That's what he promised Eve too, remember. This is what they're going to be promising you in this new world religion. Gradually from the kingdoms of Atlantis pass waves of consciousness that have been one with me, only to be replaced by a spawn of a lower star. In obedience to the law, the word of the master grew into flower. Downward in the darkness turned the thoughts of the Atlanteans. That's right. That's why they were destroyed. Until at last in this wrath arose from his Aguantai, the dweller. The word has no English equivalent, it says here. It means state of detachment, speaking the word, calling the power. Deep in earth's heart, the sons of Amenti heard, and hearing, directing the changing of the flower of fire that burns eternally, changing and shifting, using the logos, until that great fire changed its direction. Over the world then broke the great waters, drowning and sinking, changing earth's balance, until only the temple of light was left, standing on the great mountain of Undul, still rising out of the water. Some there were who were living, save from the rush of the fountains. Called to me then the master, saying, Gather ye together my people, take them by the arts ye have learned of far across the waters, until you reach the land of the hairy barbarians, dwelling in the caves of the desert. Follow there the plan that you know of. Gather I then my people, and entered the great ship of the master. Upward we rose into the morning. Dark beneath us lay the temple. Suddenly over it rose the waters, vanished from earth until the time appointed was the great temple. First we fled toward the sun of the morning, until beneath us lay the land of the children of ancient Egypt. Kim, raging they came with cudgels and spears, lifted in anger, seeking to slay and utterly destroy the sons of Atlantis. Why were they so mad? Because they had brought this upon the earth. They are the fallen angels. Then raised I my staff and directed a ray of vibration, striking them still in their tracks as fragments of stone in the mountain. Then spoke I to them in words calm and peaceful. That's how he's going to come. Do you want him to gather you into his great ship? Now listen, don't let that throw you. Remember Elijah? Do you believe in the Old Testament? Elijah was taken up in a chariot of God. They didn't fly around with wings. They had craft. He said, then spoke I to them in words calm and peaceful, telling them of the might of Atlantis, Satan's dark kingdom, how mighty it will be. Do not be deceived, my friends. Again, you're looking at the end-time battle plan laid out, saying we were children of the Son and its messengers. You were till you were cast down. Cowed I them by my display of what? Listen, magic science, until at my feet they groveled when I released them. What's he going to be doing? Performing miracles in the sight of men. Long dwelt we in the land of ancient Egypt after Atlantis fell. Long and yet long again, until obeying the commands of the master. That's the high Satan. We're dealing with the beast, who was sleeping yet lives eternally. I sent from me the sons of Atlantis, sent them in many directions, he said, that from the womb of time wisdom might rise again in her children. Long time dwelt I in the land of Kim or Egypt, doing great works by the wisdom within me. Not God, he's claiming the wisdom, he wants to be worshipped. Upward grew into the light of knowledge the children of Kim, watered by the rains of my wisdom. He led Egypt down the same path. That's why God put it on Egypt. Next. Now talk about underground structures. Blasted I then a path to Amenti, so that I might retain my powers, living from age to age, a son of Atlantis, keeping the wisdom, preserving the records. Listen, why did he have to blast a path to retain his powers? God came down on Egypt. Great few, the sons of Kim, conquering the people around them, growing slowly upwards. Listen, we saw the Pope do this in soul force. Now for a time I go from among them unto the dark halls of Amenti, until Apollyon unlocks that key, my friends. Deep in the halls of the earth, before the lords of the powers, face to face once again with the dweller. Raised I high over the entrance, a doorway, a gateway leading down to Amenti. Jesus Christ stood there. He asked them, who is the Son of Man? Philippi. Read the story. Few there would be with courage to dare it. Few passed the portal to dark Amenti. It's a good thing. Raised over the passage, a mighty pyramid. Guys, there's the top of the first entrance. Using the power that overcomes the earth's force, gravity, deeper and yet deeper, place I a force house or chamber, from it carved in a circular passage reaching almost to the great summit. There in the apex set I the crystal, sending the ray into time space, drawing the force from out of the ether, concentrating upon the gateway to Amenti. He used the powers of the pyramid to do this blasting. This is also ancient Sumerian text of how the pyramids were built, and the crystal on top. Other chambers I built and left vacant to all seeming, yet hidden within them are the keys to Amenti, the bottomless pit. So, now listen, we're dealing with ancient Egypt, the keys to the bottomless pit, and the obelisk from Egypt that sits in Rome, where we saw the satanic ceremonies. Don't forget, Washington has one. He who encouraged would dare the dark realms, let him be purified first by long fasting. They're going to bring this religion in, guys. Lie in the sarcophagus of stone in my chamber, then reveal I to him the great mysteries. Come in and do these satanic rituals that seem almost Christian, except there's going to be twists and turns, basically focused at the youth. But the whole world will be deceived except for God's elect. You're not going to be. Let's look at this again. Lie in the sarcophagus of stone in my chamber. This is under the pyramids. Then reveal I to him the great mysteries. Soon shall he follow to where I shall meet him. Even in the darkness of earth shall I meet him. I thought the Lord of wisdom, meet him and hold him and dwell with him always. Builded I the great pyramid pattern after the pyramid of earth force. Build it, burning eternally so that it too might remain through the ages. It's still here. We've heard of ancient monuments starting to reawaken. The Pope started some of this too. In it I builded my knowledge of magic science, so that I might be here when I return from Amenti. Why is the Pope, why are the world leaders so tied up into this ancient Egypt religion with the obelisk? Ah, while I sleep in the halls of Amenti, my soul roaming free will incarnate, dwell among men in the form of others. Are you listening? That's what the Pope did. He called forth this locust army to incarnate. What do the three frogs, the evil spirits, do? They come and they inhabit man, and they bring him to Armageddon. Now, why I say this is the beast it's going to give his power over to Satan in the end. Listen, emissary on earth am I of the dweller, fulfilling his commands so many might be lifted. Now return I to the halls of Amenti, leaving behind me some of my wisdom. Preserve ye and keep ye the command of the dweller. Lift ever upward your eyes toward the light. Surely in time ye are one with the master. Surely by right ye are one with the master. Surely by right ye are one with all. Surely, Eve, if you partake of this tree, of the knowledge of good and evil, you will be one with God. Are you listening, my friends? This is the new one world religion coming. Now I depart from you, know my commandments, keep them and be them. And I will be with you, helping and guiding you into the light, O Pope, as you do your blood sacrifice. Now before me opens the portal, go I down into the darkness of night. Guys, he's about to wake up. I'll link to the entire books. I'm going to do another series on this. This is the plan of the Satan and his new one world religion, led from Rome and all the way into the American preachers and so-called reverends now teaching their rapture doctrine. Speaking in tongues that come from this place, from Amenti, the halls of hell. Guys, heads up. This is part 1.